In a council meeting today, the leading commander of the Space Forces, Commodore Cameron Baker, was assigned a presentation. He was to give a talk on design doctrine and what has been put together in terms of the plans behind the first destroyer, the Troubadour class destroyer, and the ideas behind it were that it would track and find vessels within the local Sol system, so everything within up to, say, Jupiter orbit. It would be able to find and intercept anything within that, and the goal was that it was going to be the biggest and baddest thing that most people would be able to come up with. And by most people, the planned enemies were insurgents and people wishing to return to the old order. So to that goal, the Troubadour was laid down at 5,350 tons, and it has a theoretical max speed of 1.4 kilokilometers per second. The armor is reasonably well armored with 4 layers of the duranium armor, the best that the council has access to at the moment. It was going to have 6 25M nuclear thermal engines and a fuel capacity of 400,000 litres, giving it a range of 14 billion kilometres, which would put it out to somewhere around Neptune. Or a little bit past Neptune, in fact. The ship would be able to go out past Neptune and return in the same journey. For armament, there was 4 12cm C1 near ultraviolet lasers with a range of 48,000 kilometers and a tracking speed of 3,000 kilometers per second. That would give it plenty of tracking speed to potentially intercept other craft that potential insurgents might have access to. It would also give it some tracking speed against enemy missiles, if there were some. In terms of fire control, there is a Kirby International fire control, giving a max range of 48,000, matching up well with the laser, and a tracking speed in excess of the 3,000 that's currently on the laser. There's also plenty of ceiling for future upgrades to the laser for additional arm damage. 4 pressurized water reactors are set down to go into the craft, and that would power the 4 Hayward Limited near ultraviolet lasers. In terms of sensor suite, it has the best sensor suite that the military can provide. The idea being that the state of the art is quite well advanced, and the work that the scientists have done, in particular Isabel Cooper, the work that she's done, the design council decided that it made sense to take advantage of it. So there is an active short-range sensor with a 10 million kilometer range, with a minimum resolution of 1, a long-range search sensor with a resolution of 1,000. So the short-range sensor will detect a 50-ton object at 10.4 million kilometers, and the long-range sensor will detect a 5,000-ton object at 115 million kilometers. Then there's a thermal sensor, and it will detect something of signal strength 1000 at 55 million kilometers, which is quite a way out. So a very, very good sensor suite, and the Doctrine and Commodore Baker, in partnership with the Bureau of Ships, decided that information would be the key thing, and finding the enemy in space would be the hard thing to do. So that's why the sensors have been designed, and this ship given such great sensor capacity. Now, the maintenance life for the vessel is 4.8 years, and it should be able to go quite a while. The incremental failure rate is 1.1%, annual fail rate is about 76, and there should it should be able to undergo a major breakdown before having to return back to berth and resupply. The intended deployment time is 36 months or 3 years, and that concludes the presentation, paraphrased of course because I'm not Commodore Baker, but that's what Commodore Baker told the council today. That's what he spoke about, and it seems to stack up. Everything that he put forth, yeah, seems to stack up. Now, so we're going to purchase the mineral output from the civilian mines. The council has decided that it's worthwhile doing, as there's such a large amount of racial wealth. Boosting our mining capacity for the moment is a good idea, and there seems to be a good bit of minerals coming in. Now, the unrest on Mars is continuing, and the construction of the new Troubadour class destroyer is one of priority. So we're going to, the Birkin Norton shipyard is going to be retooled across to the Troubadour, and we are going to cancel the existing, because after it's retooled, then we will begin to assign another slipway and add another slipway. At 6,000 tons capacity, they've got plenty, so we're well on the way. And with something else that came up in the council's meeting today was the current research situation. At the moment, there are several high-achieving, high-flying scientists in Isabel Cooper, Madison Miles, and Sophia Coles, each of them leaders in their field and scientists of a generation, really. Their contributions have been extreme. So, on one hand, that is great, and the council is quite happy about it. However, there is so far still no specialists in logistics and ground combat, missiles and kinetic weapons, power and propulsion. The holes in the research establishment are large. So to that end, the council decided that they would create another military academy and assign it to be the next thing built. It's even debated that maybe it was worthwhile boosting it even in front of the mines, as the longer a research lab is in service for, the longer the longer a military academy is in service for, the more graduates it produces. The mining on Mars is going quite well. 87 mines already. So the civilians are carrying quite an amount of mines over there, which is great. And from here it'll be a challenge to continue to grow that. At the moment, the council is thinking that maybe Mars will just be a mining colony for now, and not worry about putting any forms of infrastructure on there. Okay. Well, 10,000 tons was added to the Fox Marine Group Incorporated shipyard. And this is in preparedness for new expanded freighters, and in fact the Fox Marine Group is the Colony class. So with the 30,000 ton upgrade, that is probably as far as it will be taken for now, until there is a reason to expand it further. Isabel has completed the research into planetary sensors. And will now work upon increasing the beam fire control range. Also, it was decided that laboratories will be assigned to Madison Miles to further increase the speed at which the research rate is improved. Another 10 research labs were assigned to be created. Currently, there's plenty of raw resources. It's just a bottleneck on construction capacity that is holding up the council's plans as to improving the situation and improving the construction capacity of the human race. So, on the 27th of June, all of the automated mines were completed, which meant that the council could finally assign these 50 automated mines to head out to Rhinemouth and also to Faye. But before they did so, the council did want to check as to whether there are any better options. Miranda was identified as a potential option with some excellent accessibility minerals. Whilst not particularly high concentrations, the accessibility tipped it far in its favour. Puck was also another example, consisting of seven in total, different resources. Certainly worthwhile going and mining that. On a whole, the council was quite happy with the resource situation. From all reports from the Homer, it seemed that there was reasonable accessibility for most resources in the immediate solar system, and it would just be a matter of shifting automated mines and mass drivers to take advantage of the easily accessible minerals. Shawmas was also identified as a potential target. The accessibility, however, was a concern, so it was noted merely for its size of concentration rather than its accessibility. There was an outstanding source of macassium discovered on Titania. In fact, the biggest reserve in the entire solar system thus far. The Homer's survey of the gas giants was continuing as planned. Uranus is found as having 306,000 tons of thorium, and at reasonably low accessibility, which was of concern, as thorium would be important for the continued growth of the Navy and also any endeavours that the Council might have. Certainly the expanded plans for additional space-going assets was going to require good concentrations and good supplies of thorium. So Herschel-Rigolette was identified as having reasonable accessibility and of quite a large concentration. With the search complete, it was time for the Council to decide where these mines would be sent. It was decided that ideally they would be sent to somewhere where there was a large amount of different resources at really good accessibility. So it was decided that Puck would be one candidate that would receive the first of these new batch of automated mines, and it was decided that Miranda would be the second. So civilian contracts were sent out to shift 25 automated mines and one mass driver to both Miranda and Puck as automated mining colonies. On the 27th of July, further efficiencies were implemented into the science and research sector. It was decided that further savings in the shipyard operations and also the shipyard building rate would be the next thing that Madison looked into. As the Council was starting to build more and more ships, that increased rate would become more and more important. Additional fuel refineries would be required to begin transferring some of the large amounts of thorium into usable fuel. It was identified that currently only 480 tons of thorium is being used, whilst we're mining nearly 4,000 on Earth alone. Additional supplies would be coming, or are coming in from, firstly, Faye. 437 tons is coming from Faye. An additional supplies would eventually be coming from Puck and Miranda both. So additional production would be ideal there. And on the 27th of August, the third level of military academy was completed, giving 15 officer graduates per year. Hopefully this would begin to fix the deficiencies in the science and research sectors and give qualified people in the areas of power and propulsion and logistics and ground combat and missiles and kinetic weapons.